Hey friends, Ash here with Gents with another fragrance review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Fragrance Premium Blend from the House of Original Penguin. I picked this up for $14.99, so basically 15 bucks from TJ Maxx. This has been in TJ Maxx stores all across America for a while now. They actually have had this fragrance at my local TJ Maxx for probably the last 6-7 months, and I just didn't bother to pick it up until now. This one has gotten a little bit of hype as a good, inexpensive summertime fragrance. That's the reason I picked it up. I've given this a decent amount of wearing, so now I'm going to break down what I think about this fragrance and whether it's worth you checking out. First off, before we break this down though, let's take a quick look at that presentation. Here you've got the box, you got the name of the house, name of the fragrance, size and concentration down here on the bottom, nothing on the sides, the little penguin logo on the top, ingredient information, and a little bit of info on the fragrance on the back, and your badge code down here on the bottom. And here's the bottle, which is actually really nice considering the price of this fragrance. It's really hefty. The glass here is quite heavy. The glass is frosted, except for right here where the logo and name of the fragrance is, which is see-through. On the bottom is your sticker with your badge code. The cap does click into place. It has kind of a rubberized feel to it, and the atomizer on here is really good as well. There's the presentation for Penguin Premium Blend. Again, for 15 bucks, this is really nice. Okay guys, like I said, this is inexpensive. It's very cheap if you pick it up at TJ Maxx. I mean, $15 for 100 milliliter size. You are not gonna find very many fragrances cheaper than that. That is legit bottom of the barrel pricing. When you first spray this on, maybe for the first 15-20 seconds or so, it smells like rubbing alcohol. So after you give this a spray, let it settle in before you try to give it a sniff. After that alcohol burns away, you've got a little bit of a shower gel fresh mint vibe to it with zesty citrus and an aquatic backbone. It does though smell very simple. It does come across a little bit cheap, which is not a surprise again because you can find this for 15 bucks right now, but it does have a pleasing freshness to it, especially in the opening. After about 10 minutes, violet comes out in this fragrance, becomes a lot more prominent. And that violet adds some green depth to the aquatic and citrus notes from the opening. The mint note here turns light really early on, so this is not a mint that lingers. It's not one of those really sweetened up mints that you might find in some Le Male fragrances. It's really just there for a little bit of freshness off the top, essentially. This is my favorite part of the fragrance, when you have that green violet with a little bit of mint from the opening that's still there before that note disappears, with the aquatic and sea salty notes, a little bit of driftwood that comes in, and the citrus zest. It smells nice and pleasant at that point in the fragrance's life. A little bit sporty, definitely a casual daytime warm weather kind of fragrance. Again, it does smell simplistic. It does have a little bit of a cheap edge to it, but it smells nice. After 30 to 45 minutes, this becomes a musk heavy fragrance in the dry down. There's a splash of driftwood there that I talked about that it kind of sneaks in during the mid, but musk is the main thing that I pull from the dry down. It's clean, it's inoffensive, but being completely honest, it's bland. In the dry down, this one is just kind of boring. And I'm not trying to bust on this one. I know that it's a cheap fragrance, but it's just so nondescript and completely forgettable. Nobody is ever going to smell this on you in the dry down and say, oh my God, what are you wearing? My wife checked this one out as well, and her exact words were that it smells like nothing. So I had to ask her, what do you mean? I mean, obviously it smells like something. And she said, well, it just smells like the most generic cologne that you've ever worn. It smells like nothing. It does have uses though. At 15 bucks, it's a solid pickup. Now, if the price went up to say $30, absolutely not. At 30 bucks, I would be really disappointed in this one. At 15, I like it. If you're seeking out a sporty, fresh, clean, inoffensive fragrance, you could do a lot worse than this one. It's got your typical notes in there. It's got your citrus, your aquatic notes, a little bit of wood, your musk, and then that slightly intriguing violet that comes in about 10 minutes in. It's got all of that. So I mean, this has the makings of a great gem fragrance, or just a great casual fragrance when you're going out with friends. It's one of those fragrances that's so cheap, you could spray this 50 times and you won't care because it's only $15. I meant to say spray 50 times per use. I mean, obviously you're not going to spray it that heavy. It's just my way of saying that it's cheap. This fragrance has some big benefits and also some big drawbacks in my opinion. So we're gonna go over both of those. This one doesn't appeal to me as much as a lot of the other daytime summer cheapies that get hyped or have been hyped in the past. Stuff like Nautica Voyage, Set Sail St. Bart's by Tommy Bahama, anything in that vein of fragrance, you know, your $20 and under summer cheapies, $25 and under summer cheapies. Those ones to me are a lot more memorable than this one is. There are certain aspects of those fragrances that you remember. Like you smell Nautica Voyage, and if you've smelled it a lot, if you've worn it a lot, things of that fragrance will stick out in your mind, like the apple or the green notes. Set Sail St. Bart's has that really tropical vibe, so those fragrances have things that are memorable, even if they're cheap. This one smells nice for the first 30 minutes or so. Once it hits that dry down, it is just completely forgettable, in my opinion. I do have Original Blend as well as Premium Blend. This one is a little bit more interesting to me. This one is not as much of a gym time fresh fragrance, like a summer casual daytime scent. This one has woody notes, green apple, suede, nutmeg, I think lavender is in here as well. So obviously with that note breakdown and just looking at the bottles, you can tell this isn't as much of a summertime cheapie as this one is. But online, this right now is about $30 on FragranceNet, and I think this one is around $20. And between the two, this one is a much more interesting fragrance if we're just going by how the fragrance smells. It's got a nice fruity opening that switches up to a woody and suede dry down. It's not a bad fragrance. Again, it's a cheapie and you can tell it's a cheapie, but between the two, I'd much rather smell that one than this one. This is not at all the same as Chrome Sport by Azzaro, but I think of it basically in the same esteem. Like I said earlier, it's just basically something I would spray on if I were going to the gym and wanted to smell inoffensive. That's really about the only way I could see using this one personally. This one projects for about 30 to 40 minutes. After that, it's really close to the skin. Overall longevity, about 4 hours. After that, it's almost imperceptible. Now, I read a couple of reviews on Fragrantica where people were saying that they got great performance from this one, that it lasts for a really long time, pushed out for a really long time. I don't get that. You can tell by looking at the bottle what this is suited for. Basically springtime, summertime, daytime. It's a casual scent. It's not something that you should wear formally. Not something that you should wear at night, in my opinion. Not a good choice for a date night. It's basically just casual use only. I know that it sounds like I'm really ragging on this fragrance, but it's just very boring. And I know that it's $15, so if you wanted to pick it up for just kind of a dumb reach fragrance, one that you just spray on and don't think about because it's so cheap, I could see that. Or if you wanted to pick it up just for really casual summer days or gym use, something like that, it could work in those situations, but it's not really something that's gonna leave an impression on people. It's just there. It's not that it smells bad, it's just that it's very boring, just very bland. Like I said also, if you were gonna pay 30 bucks for this, I think you would be really disappointed. It's the fact that it's so inexpensive if you pick it up at 15 bucks that's making people like this one. Because for 15 bucks you're expecting, oh, it's gonna be absolute trash. And then when it's not absolute trash and it's mediocre, you're like, oh, that's better than I was expecting. So I get that, absolutely. But for me, it's a no-go. It's just there are so many other fragrances that are casual, daytime, summertime fragrances that are so much better than this one. The only way I can recommend it, like I said just now, is if you pick it up at 15 bucks from a TJ Maxx and you get it for just a casual throwaway kind of fragrance. This one's a little bit more interesting, so if you find this one at TJ Maxx for 15 bucks, maybe check it out on Fragrantica, read up on it a little bit, see if it sounds interesting to you. I can tell you as far as ingredient quality, this one smells a little bit higher quality than this one. This one does come across like a cheap fragrance. I mean, it comes across with that cheap synthetic kind of edge, which again, you would expect for fragrance that's this cheap. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for Penguin Premium Blend. In my opinion, the absolute best part of this fragrance is the bottle. The bottle is actually really nice. Like this frosted glass look, the rubberized cap, it's got a lot of heft to it. The atomizer is good. The bottle here is really nice for a fragrance this cheap. The fragrance itself smells like a $15 fragrance. Or maybe that's being too rude. Maybe it smells like a $20 fragrance. I know this has a lot of fans, and at 15 bucks, that absolutely makes sense. Off the top of my head, things that you can purchase online for $15 fragrance-wise, it is slim pickings. I think you'd be better off saving another $5 and getting something that's a little nicer, $5 or $10. I think you can get Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Cologne for in the $25 range online, and that fragrance smells 10,000 times better than this one does. Just save a tiny bit of money and get something that's better. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Please like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. And I'll see you guys next time with another fragrance video. See you guys.